ABC Kinderteach presents The All I'll Ever Want Christmas Doll, written by Patricia C. McKissack, illustrated by Jerry Pinkney. Christmas always came to our house, but Santa Claus only showed up once in a while. Will Santa come this year? My two sisters put me up to ask. Mama tied on her apron. One thing for sure, chickadees, he won't stop by if the house is dirty, she said, stripping the yellowed newspaper off the walls. Mama'd once explained that she called us chickadees because those little birds huddled together, chattering, twittering, and sharing everything they had, like us. Filled with excitement, we began stuffing the cracks and tacking up fresh paper that would keep out winter winds, making our house ready for Santa Claus. So they put the newspapers on the walls, both for decorations and to help keep out the cold. But I sure didn't want to throw away the page from the Pittsburgh Courier with the Baby Betty doll advertisement on it. Each night before falling asleep, I'd imagine us playing together. Baby Betty is all I want ever, I announced the week before Christmas. Stop, Nella, shouted Eddie Bernice, who never let me forget she was the oldest. We're in a depression, when many people had very little money. Why you wishing for something you ain't never gonna get? Yeah, not in a million zillion years, little Dessa added, giggling. So those are her sisters, saying, you're not going to get that doll, it's too expensive. I flat out refused to give up my dream, so, without my sisters knowing it, I wrote Santa Claus a letter and sent it all the way to the North Pole. Dear Santa, I've been good most of the year. I love my sisters most of the time. I help Mama and Daddy as much as I can. I know there is a depression going on, but I've got my heart set on Baby Betty. She is all I'll ever ask for. Please. From a very good girl, Laura Nell Pearson. P.S. I'm sorry I hit Harry, but he hit Dessa first. So she's writing a letter to Santa Claus. Finally, it was Christmas Eve. We all sang Silent Night, and then we girls climbed into bed and snuggled under the new quilt Mama'd just finished. Daddy told us the story of a special baby born in a Bethlehem stable long ago, and even though we were too excited to fall asleep right away, the Sandman overcame us one by one, and the Sandman is a pretend person who puts kids to sleep by sprinkling sand in their eyes. Again, it's just pretend. We were awake at dawn. It's Christmas! Eddie, Bernice, and Dessa shouted. I leaped off the bed, bubbling over with excitement. It's Christmas! Mama and Daddy stirred from behind their sleeping curtain. They lived in a small house, and they didn't have enough money for a door between their bedroom and their mom and dad's bedroom. What little mice girls are disturbing folks for day in the morning, Daddy grumbled, pretend acting angry. So he wasn't really mad, he was just pretending. Merry Christmas, chickadees, Mama said, giving us each a sack filled with English walnuts, or nuts, a peppermint candy stick, an orange, and a box of raisins. It was the most Christmas we'd ever had. Daddy held one last package behind his back. Merry Christmas, daughters, he said as he presented it to us. I wonder what it could be. Could it be the doll? There before us was a for-real, store-bought, brand-new Baby Betty doll, the color of chocolate, with rosy cheeks, black curly locks, and thick eyelashes. She was a million times prettier than I could have imagined. "Oh," cooed Eddie Bernice. "Ahem," Dessa giggled. "And she's mine," I declared. Dessa grabbed Baby Betty's leg. Eddie Bernice elbowed in and snatched the doll's arm. "No, I'm the eldest," she cried. "Mine," Dessa wailed. "Me," I shouted. "No." So they're all fighting over the one doll. I wonder who's going to get it. Maybe they'll have to share? Let's see. We tugged and yanked and shoved and pulled until Daddy separated us. "Eddie Bernice Pearson, Laura Nell Pearson, Odessa May Pearson," he said. When Daddy called us by our whole names in birth order, we knew we were in trouble. So we shut up and stood shoulder to shoulder. Gathering us within the circle of his arms, he scolded, "3 times shame on you for fighting over a Christmas gift." He looked at us with disappointed eyes. "I have chores to do. Work this out and no more squabbling or fighting amongst each other." When the door closed, Mama turned to us and raised an eyebrow. "Okay, chickadees, fix it," she said. Then she walked away, holding on to my doll. I spoke right up. "Who wanted Baby Betty the most?" "You did," Dessa and Eddie Bernice answered grudgingly, agreeing but in a grouchy way. "And who said it was silly to dream about something I could never have in a million zillion years?" "We did." "And who never gave up and wrote a letter to Santa?" "You did." "So, who do you think Baby Betty should belong to?" Eddie Bernice shrugged. "You, I guess." Little Dessa nodded. So they finally decided who should have Baby Betty. When Mama heard we were all in agreement, she handed me Baby Betty, and the doll's eyelashes fluttered. "You are all I want. I don't need anything else," I cried. "We'll see," said Mama. I think Mama thinks maybe that she'll get tired of playing with Baby Betty. Let's see. After I ate and dressed, I had the whole day to play with my new doll. First I sang to her, "You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray." Eddie, Bernice, and Dessa watched for a minute, but when I didn't include them, they left. Through the window I could hear them taking turns jumping rope with a measure or piece of Mama's clothesline. I wonder if she's going to miss playing with her sisters. Maybe she'll share. "Having you is more fun than any old jump rope," I whispered to Baby Betty. She blinked and I hugged her tight. And there she is looking out the window at her sisters with the doll. But I think she's kind of missing playing with her sisters. I sang every Christmas carol I knew, from Joy to the World to Jingle Bells. Baby Betty was a good listener, but my sisters always sang harmony with me, singing the same words at the same time, and Baby Betty couldn't sing a note. "Oh, well," I said, rocking her gently, "let's tell stories instead." I began with Goldilocks, followed by Little Red Riding Hood. When I finished, there was only silence. My sisters always clapped, but Baby Betty couldn't move her hands. So she's discovering that Baby Betty isn't nearly as much fun as playing with her sisters. "Maybe you'd like Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby," I tried and set in. At last I got to my favorite part. In my best storytelling voice I said, "Brer Rabbit say, 'Tar Baby, you'd better speak like you got some sense, or I'll bop you upside your head.' But that Tar Baby didn't say nothing. It sat there in the road looking dumb." That part always made Dessa giggle, but not Baby Betty. I moved slowly and carefully to the window to sneak one peek at my sisters. They were making string sculptures. "I wish you could do something more than sit around like a spot on a toad," I whispered, a little disgusted like. Baby Betty blinked. So she's really getting tired of the Baby Betty because it's not as much fun as her sisters. Having fun? Mama asked, pouring herself a cup of tea. I guess so, I replied. Then suddenly I got an idea. A party, I shouted. Baby Betty and I will have a tea party, same as Miss Florence, the lady you work for. Quickly, I spread a quilt over Mama's trunk, then placed an imaginary cup and saucer in front of my doll. After serving, I took a sip with my pinky finger raised. This is very, very delicious tea, isn't it, Miss Baby? I said properly. No answer. I tried again. I say, isn't this delicious tea? Baby Betty sat there. Could have been the tar baby herself. You'd better answer me, girl, I shouted. Nothing. Baby Betty was never going to utter or speak a word. Okay, I said, throwing up my hands. If you don't want to play with me, then I don't want to play with you either. So there. And I stormed away, ran away in a mad way. Through the window I could hear Dessa and Eddie Bernice chattering, twittering, and sharing like chickadees. I felt like a lone chickadee all by herself. As I stood listening to my sister's hand-clap songs, Mama came over and put her arms around me. I think they miss you, she said. Doesn't seem like it. Why don't you ask them to your party? I don't think Baby Betty will mind. You don't? Mama just smiled. I didn't have to think about it long. I grabbed the doll and rushed outside. What do you want? We're busy, said Eddie Bernice. I kicked at the ground. Baby Betty wants you to come to our tea party, I said. She does? Dessa asked. Mm-hmm, I said. My sisters looked at each other. Who will get to pour the pretend tea first? Eddie Bernice asked. You would, I answered reluctantly, like not wanting to answer. And who'd get to sit at the head of the tea table? Dessa put in, her hands folded across her chest. You would. I hugged Baby Betty. You know, she can't do much, I explained, but she sure is pretty. Baby Betty's eyelashes fluttered and we all giggled. Then I handed Baby Betty over, so she realized that it was more fun to play with her sisters than the doll. All the rest of Christmas Day, my sisters and I played with our doll. She doesn't say my doll anymore. We sang Christmas carols in harmony and shared stories about once upon a time. Dessa knew just when to laugh and Eddie Bernice knew when to clap. We munched on peppermint candy and orange wedges and ate one raisin at a time so they'd last. But my favorite part was when I poured a pretend cup of tea and with my baby finger crooked ever so daintily, I said real prim and proper like, isn't this the best Christmas ever?